Hi guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, I want to show you my Prosthechea radiata. It was known as Encyclia radiata not just so long ago, but since then it has been moved into this new, or rather resurrected genus of Prosthechea. But before I go into some details about the difference between those two genera, because actually I'm not a huge fan generally of moving things around too much and creating new genera and moving things just causing a lot of headache for everybody. But in this case, there are actually some key differences between those two those two genera. And of course, horticulturally doesn't matter. I don't think so. But I guess, with some academic roots in me, I guess I could entertain myself to talk about a little bit of difference between those two genera. But before I get started, let me just show you the plant real quick. So I have it mounted right here, and when I bought it, those three pseudobulbs are the main ones. It was growing upward, but now since it's been mounted, of course, it looks like it's growing horizontally, and this new pseudobulb is growing upward. But in any case, one thing that's special or pretty important about this species, that's the distance between pseudobulbs is they're pretty far apart. So pros for that is that it can grow into and plus this one branches a lot. So this pseudobulb branched into those two on the sides, and this pseudobulb has two buds at the base, and this pseudobulb has two buds at the base too. One is growing into this new one, and then another one is probably going to grow out at some point as well. So pros for that is that it can grow into a bushier or specimen sized plant really quick. But the cons for that is that it will occupy more horizontal space and maybe require more frequent repotting if you have it in a smaller pot, because it will walk out of the pot. But in any case, it's still cool, and some people say this grows like a weed when it's growing actively. For me, maybe because it's mounted, I'm not giving it that much moisture. I'm watering it daily, but maybe because of that, it's not growing as fast. So it's sort of, I guess, containing a good way. But in any case, okay, let's nerd out for a second, talk about taxonomy. So if you look at the plant growth this way and the inflorescence on top of the pseudobulb, again, typical of the Callia alliance species. Oh, also, by the way, they usually have 3 leaves on top of the pseudobulb. And if you trace the inflorescence, you'll see the lip or the labellum of this plant is actually facing upward. And if you think of a classic Callia, the lip is facing downward, sort of like providing a platform for the pollinators to land on. That's the opposite here. And this is actually quote unquote the natural way these lips should face. In this case, it will be non-resupinate. Because if you think of an orchid flower, essentially, it has 3 sepals, petals, and the lip, and those 6 pieces of the organ, if you think of those as a lily flower, and they're all facing upward, and this way is actually the natural way of where they're supposed to face upward. So this is non-resupinate, resupinate meaning upside down. But in the case of Encyclia and a lot of the Callias, let's just focus on Encyclia because that's where this species was. It was facing downward, and that's one key difference. And some other less key differences are this lip is partially adnate or merged to the column. You can they still move freely to a degree, but not 100%. And the degree of attachment or merge, I think, is different in Encyclia. And some other thing is that this column where the pollen and the female and the male organs are, this is not winged, but in Encyclia it is winged. And people also say there are like out of frame. There are like 3 toothed or something like that about the column. I can't quite tell. Maybe those yellow things and the white stuff are the 3 teeth, but I don't really know. And some people also say the column has the glycoside crystals in them, that of course you can only see that with a microscope, but people also say when you cut into the column, it feels like grains of sand. I'm not gonna cut into my flower. It doesn't have that many to start with, and that's also, I guess, one thing about the Prosthechea radiata is that for each of the inflorescence, it doesn't have that many flowers, despite the small size of them. So I'm not gonna cut into that. But anyways, those are some of the differences between those two genera. And of course, there's a lot more vegetatively about the leaves, about the pseudobulb. But regardless, they're both great genera and have beautiful plants. And this one in front of me, I've already talked about the pseudobulbs and leaves, so let me focus on the flower for now. The flower has, besides this lip and maybe part of the column, let me try to block some of the light so the patterning is a little bit more visible. Yeah, besides the lip, it's pretty bland, for lack of a better word. It just looks white-green colored. I love white-green flowers, don't get me wrong, but it's not colorful. But on the lip, there are those veins radiating from the center. That's kind of cool. Maybe that's why it got its name radiata. I don't know. But the most special thing about this species is supposed to be the fragrance. People say it can fill an entire room. It's so intense. People say it smells like coconut, smells sweet. Some people say it smells so strong they can't even stand it. Not on my plant. That was very disappointing. It still smells. I'm standing it maybe a foot away from it while filming. I can sort of smell it, and I have to stick my nose to it to get the quote intense smell. It's really not intense on this plant. And it smells nothing special. It smells like a combination of, not even a combination, it smells like a sweeter version of Ludmaniana. So just, typical Unifolia Callia kind of smell. Yeah, but I've also smelled those at Botanical Gardens, at other places. They're so strong, they give me a toothache because they're so strong. So not on this one, I don't know why. I also saw online people say there are some differences variation among individuals. So maybe I just got a not too fragrant individual. Who knows? Orchids are weird. But regardless, it's still cute, and the flowers last a lot longer than some of the other Callias. I don't remember what people said. And this one has been open for maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks now. I'm just been waiting for the sun to come out to film the video, but it just wouldn't. The flower has been open for a while, probably 2 weeks, so if not more. And it looks pretty robust, it's still going. And some of the other cousins in this genus, like Florida native, I think it's Florida native. Florida. What's happening? Another cousin in the genus Prosthechea cochleata, which is more famous as the octopus orchid, I think. It has a more dramatic coloration of the lip as well as the rest of the petal and sepals. That one is also super long lasting. I've read people say it lasts 2 months. I don't know. It lasts super long, but that one is nowhere near as fragrant. It's very faint, if at all. So this is a really interesting species. Many interesting genus, and many of the species in this genus is actually fragrant. But this one is supposed to be one of the most fragrant, but not so much. Okay, I'll stop complaining about its fragrance. What else? Culture, pretty standard Callia culture. You want the leaf to be medium apple green, not too green, so that it would usually be an indicator of not enough light. You don't want to sunburn it. Their roots, I wouldn't say mine is the most successful specimen, but I have mine mounted. It has a pretty good root system, and of course, I guess, dry out between waterings, but still water it pretty much, like give it plenty of moisture during active growth. Just a rule of thumb, pretty typical. Temperature probably intermediate to warm growing. By the way, it's native to Central America. Unless it's from the mountains, that's also, an indicator of like warm, intermediate growing conditions. Other than that, it's a pretty interesting, unique little species. That disappointed me with this one individual, but I will not give up. I will probably search for another one that is more fragrant, and yeah, and we'll see what happens to this individual. In any case, thank you guys so much for watching today, and have a great one. I'll see you next time.